So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews. And this is for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. I'm super excited that my guest today is one of the stars of Neighbours, the fantastic Candice Leask from Neighbours, who plays Wendy Rodwell. I'll get that right. Welcome, Candice. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. It's great to be back. It's great to see you again. It's been quite a full-on three to 4 weeks back in 2024, but super excited, and it's been an amazing. I've had the most amazing. You'll see when all the storylines come out, but the most amazing experience the last 3 weeks because the writers have given Wendy a real top, I would say, in my opinion, a real top storyline. And it's just been the most fun, not even exaggerating, the most fun I've had since being a part of the show. So
Now, the
yeah, I'm super excited.
Now, I was going to say the last time we had you on was for one of my Neighbours specials, and it was yourself and Emerald, who of course plays Sadie. Ha Having obviously her as your daughter, I mean, is she sort of becoming like a daughter in real life? Are you like a real sort of family unit, the three of you now?
It's so funny because since we came back, so last year, I feel like in real life, Emerald's sort of the storyline's gone over to the share house and they're really forming their bonds. And that's really how it is. Like, we're really close when we have Rodwell scenes. We have so much fun. But I feel like last year and this year, it's been a real maturity in of just from my opinion of Emerald's storyline with Sadie and going on her own endeavors and kind of forging friendships, especially, after the fire that happened and all the stuff that went along with Sadie and trying to fit in and the Rodwells and trying to fit in. She's really finding her own footing. Sadie's finding her own footing. But yeah, we have, and I feel like that's almost true to when you have a, a, like an older child coming out of high school and then studying. Um, it feels real because we see each other randomly. You literally you never know who you're going to work with and who you're going to see in the green room that day.
I mean,
It's
I say, I personally think it's similar to you that since the show's come back and you guys have all kind of got more embedded in the show, I do feel that her character has really flourished, and that not to say that her character wasn't in the original run, but I feel that we're seeing more of her and we're seeing more of her amazing acting talents. I feel personally,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think it's
absolutely.
fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the cast since Neighbours the 2.0 has come back. I think everyone has been cast so wonderfully and they bring such a unique dynamic and the diversity. Like, I know the word diversity, it's very, it can be very like used used plentifully but it really is like, and it's not just how we look, it's our personality styles and our acting styles, and it really allows us to perform at our peak when we're with people who are completely from different walks of life, and we bond so wonderfully. I feel so, and I'm really lucky. I feel really lucky to be able to share that with all the new Neighbours viewers, and obviously the ones that have been around since the beginning. It's a real privilege.
Now, I want to take you back to when it was first announced that Neighbours was coming back, and obviously we saw the video with Stefan and Ryan and Jackie and Alan.
Yeah.
Obviously, at that point, none of the rest of you knew. So, how long after that was it until you knew whether you were coming back? Was it quite a quick process after that, or?
I feel it was quick. I remember there was sort of some chatter, via messages through some of the cast that there was going to be an announcement, but no one knew what the announcement would be. And then everyone said, stay tuned to the Neighbours social media sites. And then I remember it, I think it was 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. It was released, and it was just, there were messages going off. It was just streaming, and I wasn't sure. No one was sure. Obviously, with the four that did the sneak preview of the reboot, but it was about, I would say within a week. And we all had other jobs, and I'm sure everyone else just got this unexpected phone call from their agent, and it was, yeah, I would never have thought. Just like everyone else, it was a really sad time, and I was like, okay, as an actor, you're sort of like, all right, but when that happened, it was surreal.
I mean, was there ever a time when you thought that maybe they wouldn't ask you back? Or was there anything where you maybe thought, maybe I don't want to go back? Or was it always going to be, yes, if they ask me, I'm going back?
As soon as I saw that it was coming back, I knew I'd want to go back. But I've also learned doing, like, being in the acting industry, my expectations are very balanced. I kind of, I think I've just learned that it's really hard to have a thick skin if you really want something. Um, so I had an open mind, and I kind of was talking about it to a lot of people. Like, if they asked me back, and then a lot of people were like, oh, of course they'd get, when, the Rodwells back, because they'd want to investigate that. And then there was, maybe it'll be a whole new group of people in the street who knew what, like, the theories that were going around. And then when I was asked, like, I said yes straight away. And I was really, really excited to meet the cast that, obviously the cast who was coming back from the original series, and then the new cast. And we were all starting off on the same foot. And I feel like that's pretty special. You're not just coming in and being like, hello. It's sort of like you're coming in and you're like, all right, this is amazing. We're really, like, this is such a amazing opportunity for all of us.
And I mean, as well,
Um,
to come back into the show, and also, last time we spoke, you said you would love it if kind of Wendy was kind of sort of riding high in the industry, and she kind of is. She's taken on the role of, obviously, manager at the bar. So you must have been quite happy with where she is now. Are you loving where she is at the moment?
oh yeah, I think it's great. I would have to say I love playing Wendy. I think it took me a little while because I was like, she's she has quirks that are different than what I have. But at the same time, it's fun because she has this optimism that's kind of, it doesn't really get swaying. And I like that she wants to know everyone's business, and she's not shy of showing it. But at the same time, she doesn't realize that it's so obvious.
And it's not from
Um,
a malicious place. It's coming from a place of
yeah,
care.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like, when she first came into the street, she was giving gift baskets, and there were quite up and down like assessments from fans about how they felt about her. It was too much, or it was lovely. And I think finding that happy dynamic, because when you come into any group, you sell a part of a story that you want people to invest in. And then when you get to know everyone, it tones down, and you get to know what's happening underneath all that. And that's the opportunity that I think I've been given, to see what's behind all the, why are you giving gifts to these people you don't know, besides the fact you want them to love you. Like, what's really there? What trauma is beneath the surface?
I mean, one of the great things, and recently I had the pleasure of speaking to a few of your co-stars, Rebecca Omologlu, Stefan
I
Dennis, Ryan
saw.
Maloney, Lucinda Cowden, who are all fantastic.
How wonderful. Yeah.
They're just fantastic. But for you, getting to do, like, I mean, for example, obviously, Andrew and Wendy get to do a lot of scenes with Toadie and Therese as they're kind of like busy friends, and doing those really emotional scenes where they come and confide in you. That must be great to really get involved in some of the high drama.
Oh, yeah. And it's really interesting working with actors who have been in the industry for a very, very long time. And also, sorry, that's my cat. He's back. He's back from sorry, sorry. Yeah, they know how soap is written, and you see them look at at a script and they can digest what's being said and what lines don't really make sense, or not make sense, but how they should be said in a certain way. So working with actors like Ryan and Beck, even Fletch and Jackie and Annie, and Ian Smith, um, it takes you to a different part of how do you work as a soap actor. And then when you do go into those dramatic scenes, it's almost it's almost like you are watching yourself. It's weird watching yourself perform the scene as an actor, but also you're telling a story to the audience. And I think that's the distinct difference with soap and maybe with just dramatic film. Things aren't always laid out, but that's what I love about soap. I love about Neighbours. It's painting this picture and you're taking everyone along, and then you read what's going on online.
Do you
And
do you still have to
yeah.
pinch yourself that you're working with these people and that you are, a part of Neighbours? Is that still surreal, or have you kind of got your head around it now?
Oh no, I remember the other day I was thinking how, like 4 years ago, it's something like when I moved to Melbourne, almost 11 years ago, getting on Neighbours was one of the things I wanted. And then after the 10 years, I was like, oh, it's all right. You give it a good crack. And then when it happened, like I was like, you're not really there. You're like, oh yeah, okay. But the other day, I remember I was on set and I thought, holy cow, I've been given this opportunity and my character's unfolding. I'm working with, all these amazing actors that I've been watching for years. And I'm a part of it now. And I think being a part of that and actually seeing them as not just colleagues, but you can talk to them just as people that you now just know on a personal level. Like how how mind blowing is that? It just, yeah, sorry, it just, yeah, it does. I had one of those moments, and I was like, to myself, I didn't. Yeah, it was absolutely, yeah, I really did have one of those days last week. So yeah, great question.
Now, obviously, one of the things we talked about the last time we had a chat was about storylines that obviously were in the pipelines the first time round that didn't come to life because of obvious reasons.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
they are there plans for them to sort of look into those, or is it completely sort of new stuff that's going to be coming around the corner? Because I know that you said that there's a few things that you were hoping they were going to delve into. So do you think those will happen
Mm.
eventually?
Um, I think the things that we spoke about, um, like hypotheticals and also like what we wished our characters would do. I think one of mine was I wanted her to become a manager at Lassiter's, or so. Or I said something like that. The writers, they they think so far in advance. They are well into almost into coming up to the end of the year in forecasting, and which is just insanely talented to be able to think that far ahead for characters. Um, the things that they've made for Wendy, I was lucky enough to be able to be brought in by Shane, the head writer, and we had like chats and everything. And it's nothing like what I thought it would be. Like you won't even think I couldn't have predicted it. And there's stuff I want to tell you that blew my mind, but unfortunately I can't. But but there is like one thing that like totally blew my mind, and no one was told about this storyline. And I remember I was just guessing and guessing, like, is it this? Is it this? I was totally off the mark. So when that happens, um, I think just Neighbours audience is going to be blown away.
Do you know what?
I'm
I
so
love it.
excited.
I love it when we get these teasers because I personally feel that particularly the last year of the show, when it was on Channel 5, and since it's come back onto Amazon, it is the best it has ever been. I personally feel that. And it really shows, especially the fresh feel on Amazon Freevee. It feels like a slightly new show, but it's still the show that we love. So, I mean, for you guys working on the show, it must. I mean, do you kind of understand, kind of from the fan perspective? Do you sort of, are you getting how they're loving it as well? Is, if that makes sense?
Oh, completely. And I've never been so invested in finding out what ratings are like, and especially in the UK, because it's such a large fan base and it's so appreciated. And like being able to talk to people who work for Amazon and finding out the statistics, it's been such a it's been such a surprise, not a surprise in a bad way. Like it's been such a pleasant surprise to see how many people have embraced the show again who were original fans, and how many people who have jumped on board because of the new formatting, from the little tweaks that they've made, the production value, the color grading, the writing. I completely agree with you. I said this to my friends and everything. It's like the old show, but they've polished it to a point where it's like, okay, it's almost got that new reborn feel to it, and I love it. I know all the actors do their catch ups. I do my catch ups on Amazon. So, and the HD quality, oh, you see everything, but it's wonderful.
Now, one of the storylines, without giving too much away, one of the storylines we have got coming very soon is obviously Andrew's brother. Felix is coming into the show. We know that he's, spent time in prison. We won't give too much away, but was it quite nice to have a new member of the Rodwell family sort of join the show? What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. And James, who plays Felix Rodwell, is such a great actor. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but he was one of the Power Rangers. And I was kind of like, I always do I like to do, well, before you're working with someone or before you go to a job, it's always good to do research. And I looked and I was like, wow, like to get on an American show like that, that's pretty impressive. So we did some wonderful, wonderful scenes together, and it's really nice. It's almost like you have a new scene partner, and they bring in new skills and how they approach the character. And he brought in little tweaks to Felix. I'm trying to I'm editing things that I want to say. um, but it's so wonderful to have a new member, and I think also to know a bit more about Andrew and his past and how he feels, and then go into like what's behind all his social face. Yeah, so it was an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure working with new people.
I mean,
Always.
like I said, we can't say much. There's going to be a twist, but I'm not going to say anything about that. But
Ooh, cool.
I love a teaser. But I mean, one thing I imagine would be great is, would you like to eventually kind of find out more about Wendy's family and sort of her side of things? Because we don't know a great deal from memory about Wendy's family. So, I mean, do you know anything? Is there anything you want to see happen, like parents, family, anyone join the show for Wendy?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like um even the relationship between Sadie and Wendy hasn't really been, I don't know, Sadie going through another kind of growing up phase, and then the mother daughter dynamic changing. I'd really like to go more into that. I think the family unit from Wendy, I feel like it will be investigated down the track. I'm not really sure who or what, but I definitely think that it would be interesting to see what her history, what her history is, and if she does have family members, are they like her, or are they completely opposite and she just went rogue and was the people pleaser? So I really wish I could. That's one thing. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. But so far, it's just me thinking I wonder if they'll bring in her parents, or I wonder if she has siblings.
I
Be
mean,
great to see what. Yeah,
in
sorry.
I was gonna say, in your mind, have you kind of pictured who your parent, sort of Wendy's parents are like? I mean, have you got actors in mind already who you would love to see play Wendy's parents?
Oh, there is this one actress I saw. She just did a film here in Australia, and she was in um, the movie The Joy Luck Club, and I saw her perform, and she's I'm pretty sure she's Chinese, and I thought when I saw her perform, I was like, oh, she'd be such a joy to work with as a as a grandmother. I never said anything, but I just think, maybe that's something that like invest in like that kind of part of it would just be really nice. And also it's a bit selfish for me to work with someone who is Chinese and who has that kind of heritage that, I'm Australian Chinese, but there's lots of things that you lose, I think, culturally when you're brought up in like a Western society. So I think that's more of a selfish thing that I'd like to work with someone like that. Ooh.
Now, I mean, obviously, you get to work with so many amazing people, but is there any of the cast that you don't get to work with much that you would love to work with going forward?
Oh yeah, Xavier. I love working with Xavier, who plays Byron Stone. I love doing scenes with Annie. I think Wendy and Jane. I like how lighthearted their scenes are. Um, oh, who else I love working with? I love doing any scenes with. Hopefully, they get him back. But Ian Smith, he's really. I For me, that's another selfish thing because I love Harold. I loved Madge and Harold. So working with Ian Smith would be amazing and is amazing when I get to do scenes with him. Oh, and Stefan. I love doing Paul Robinson and Wendy scenes. He is nothing like his character. He's just so nice and he's such a family man and he's so lighthearted and he's a wealth of information on theatre. He lived in the UK and all this and he tells great stories. So yeah, there's some of the few. I just because it's so different to doing a scene, you get to banter with them and then you're like, ugh, do a weird Wendy joke and then Paul, no expression. Yeah. So yeah, those actors absolutely. I love
I
like
I would really love for them to bring Ian Smith and Tom Oliver, who of course played Harold and Lou, back, and I think they would work really well with Wendy. I would love to see the three of them interact.
yeah, I wish they that Tom Oliver would have been able to be a part of, the last season. I didn't know I don't because obviously they brought back who they could. But I loved Lou. I loved the dynamic when they had, Lou, Harold, and Madge. I thought that was awesome. And the progression of the waterhole and Lou's and yeah, and how fun would that be? If only I could go back in time. Yoo-hoo! It's so weird. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Now, if you could give Wendy some advice, because I mean, I know that we asked before, and you said about kind of like getting her to sort of cool down a bit. Now, I think she has a bit now. So, what advice would you
Mm.
give her now at this point?
Um, I think take a breath. Um, I think I feel like she does tend to rely on Andrew a lot still. I think she's finding her footing that way, but she has a tendency to still want people to like her. And I think as people we can relate to that. I know I do, but I definitely would say take a breath. Maybe she could do what I do and take up some meditation. But definitely I think don't invest in other people's information as much. But then you lose the whole Erinsborough vibe. So maybe just, yeah, step back and maybe just observe more, but more discreetly.
Now, I mean, I say the show is just going from strength to strength. what's coming up? I mean, I know you can't say too much, but I mean, are there characters? Obviously, we've talked about a few, but are there characters you would love to see come back in the future that either didn't come back for the final, or any that did come back for the final that you thoroughly enjoyed and you'd love to see them back again?
Oh, I would say, okay, I forget the actor's name and I know it because I would say I would love Jim Robinson to come back.
Allendale, yeah.
Alan Dow, yes, I would absolutely love him. I know he can't, and I know he can't appear in a bauble, Christmas bauble again, but maybe an evil brother.
Yeah.
We could do that. Who else would I like? Everyone, everyone that I absolutely adored, unfortunately, I feel passed on. I loved Anne Hattie. I thought she was an amazing actress. Um, I love. Oh, they could bring back. Um, who else could they bring back? There are so many people. I liked Izzy. I thought she's cool, and Natalie Bassingwaite is a really nice person, which is always a bonus. And these are people, but oh, no, no, no. I was going to say we could bring back. Oh, I thought Jason Donovan when he came back for the finale, he'd be so good to bring back again. But he was so generous. He just watching him in the finale, he added so much light and so much like he really wanted to be there, and it was really fun. It was just he was really fun to watch.
Did you get to
Um,
spend much time with Jason and Kylie when they were back?
when they had Jason and Kylie back, it was very no one knew because obviously from the star status of that, but it was very hush hush. They were there on my days off, and all I remember is people going, they were here yesterday. And also, I got to be with their stunt doubles. So that was also very cool. But yeah, I just missed out on seeing them. So watching the finale, I watched it. I remember I watched it twice that night. It was such a joy because no, I hadn't seen the release of it or anything. And yeah, but I do think that they're the actors that I would love to see back. But I feel like if anyone walks through those doors and I remember I recognize their face, I'd be so thrilled.
It's
I
the
would be,
amazing thing with Neighbours is that they've got such a wealth of history to go back to that there's quite often faces that have come back, even in like the last couple of months that the show's been back on air, there's faces that come back that you've sort of forgotten about and go, oh, didn't expect that, but that's a real joy. I mean, recently we got to see the lovely Geordie Lucas, who played Summer, come back for a very short period, which is a character that I thoroughly loved when she was around the first time. But having her back was just like that was just a nice surprise.
oh yeah, and she was wonderful. I got to spend like 3 days, I think, with her separately, just filming. And yeah, she was so wonderful and talking about her life after Neighbours and how she's gone into podcasting and done her own stuff. And it's interesting, you forget that once you don't see them on the screen, like life goes on, and the actors and the actresses, they still create, they still invest in themselves. And it was so wonderful to have her back as well, and especially during the time that I think that's when Margot Robbie was on the show, and hearing her speak of the actors and actresses she got to grow up with, basically, and then the life after and what they did. So when we get anyone new in, it's like a wealth of information of history and how things have changed and how things are exactly the same when you walk through those doors.
Now, I mean, another thing that you must love as being part of Neighbours is the interaction online. We've spoken about it before, but I mean, the fans are dedicated, and particularly they seem to love characters like Wendy and Melanie. I noticed as well, Lucinda Cowden. What is it like, the interaction you get with the fans online?
Since we last spoke, I did take a bit more of a backseat to social media. I think just for mental health reasons, and you got to take care of yourself because we tend to our brains tend to absorb things like one bad comment and then you get like 100 good ones. It's like, but hang on a second. Um, so the main social media I'll be on is Instagram, and all the messages I'll get are always really, really positive and really lovely. And it's really nice to know that people, I think the majority of messages I get is the progression of when the Rodwells first came to Ramsay Street and now, and people really enjoying seeing the storylines and how we've been given. A lot of people say we love that you've been given a chance to, delve into your acting. A lot of people say that, and it's really like it's really nice to see that you're not the only one investing in the character and in the show. And it's always a pleasant surprise when I open up my messages and I get messages like that.
Now, I just want to say it's been a pleasure talking to you. We'll leave it there for now, but we will definitely get you back on because we love talking to you. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for giving up your time. Of course, people need to keep watching Neighbours.
Yes.
There's no time. You can watch it whenever on Amazon Freevee here in the
I know,
UK.
how
It's
wonderful.
amazing. Literally, you don't have to wait until like the afternoon. I can watch it first thing in the morning. It's great. But yeah, thoroughly, thoroughly loving the show. And yeah, we will get you back on. So thank you, Candice, for giving up your time.
Thank you so much, Matt. I've had always have a lovely time chatting with you.